So welcome to the podcast. My name's Zac and this is Eve. We are the Directors of StayRight, and on this podcast what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we've scaled our Airbnb business to 40 properties in just over 10 months. And during that time, what we're going to document is all the tips, hacks, tricks, everything that we're doing to help us continue to grow and also share how we grew to 40 properties. So let's get stuck into it. So we're finally here, Eve. We planned this for a while, haven't we?
Yes, we have. I'm excited. Finally, episode 1, guys.
I know, I can't wait. It's crazy to think this time last year, we were doing viewing on our first, or trying to get our first rent-to-rent.
Yeah.
To fast forward to where we are now with pretty much 40 properties under our belt. Don't think you would have thought we would have been here.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Don't worry. We wrote down our goals and we have to hit them. No, it's kind of a dream to get to where we're at now, and I think that, I say we did because we had big goals from the start and we knew we wanted to scale. But it's still crazy to think that we're here. So, episode 1, we're just going to kind of share our journey so far. Obviously, 40 properties in 10 months is quite fast growth. So I think it's important we just start with that, really, isn't it? And talk about how we've done it, and it's just how we've done it. There might be other ways to do it as well, but we're just going to share our journey.
I think we're quite unique in the way that we've done it, because you see all these groups out there and they're talking about, all these selling tactics and everything. I genuinely think that we've kind of gone past what people would do, especially with our schedules. And we'll get into it a little bit, but when we started, we both worked a lot, and we somehow managed to do this. So I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, so starting at the beginning. I think it's important first episode, just to talk a little bit. You said, obviously, our business is called StayRight. So that's an Airbnb or Serviced Accommodation Management company. So we're going to talk mainly about that. But we did start with 3 rent-to-rent properties. That was end of last year?
Yeah, that was I think we secured our first one the 1st of December, yeah. And then we had 2 again straight after that in 7 days, which was crazy. So
3 rent-to-rent straight away. That was the start of our journey, but let's just backtrack a little bit more and just, introduce ourselves first.
Yeah.
So
ladies first.
Thank you. So before starting this business, I went to uni in Cardiff, and I then kind of halfway through my degree started working at an amazing startup company at the time in the fitness industry. I worked in customer support. I then worked in client success, and that was an amazing journey. I learned so much about running a business. Zac still works there now, so he can talk about that. So that's what gave me the bug to start a business. I knew I wanted to get into property, and I then started learning about the Airbnb strategy with Zac, and we realised that it was an interesting business model. So that's kind of what got us started into that.
Yeah, so myself, hopefully you can hear the accent. I'm Australian. Probably people don't hear that, unfortunately. So I still work with my full-time job, and I love my job, but we've got some big news coming. I've been doing sales and help that business grow as well. And I kind of got into this because of Eve, really. And now we're here.
I won't take full credit.
Now we're here, and that's kind of our story. And how we got into rent-to-rent was, I think it was mainly you, Eve. You wanted to always grow your business, and you just love property.
Yeah, it was a good combination. I think for us, and what a lot of people may not realise straight off the bat, is that managing Airbnbs and doing that successfully is a noisy business. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of operations and organisation, and that's what I wanted. I wasn't looking for quick passive income. I wanted, which I don't know if that's even possible. It's definitely not. But I wanted to run a business. I wanted to build a business. I wanted to hire team members and grow something, and that's why this was really exciting. So we're based in Cardiff. Our properties are across sort of South Wales and Bristol. I think that's a good intro into the journey.
Take us back to the beginning. So, take us back to October, November. We're having that conversation about wanting to get rent-to-rents, and Talk about the first, before we get into how we got the 3, talk about like that grueling phase beforehand, you know, to get that first one. Because it was tough, man. It was tough.
Because it's easy to go, oh, we've got all these properties now, but obviously it doesn't start like that. Like every no is closer to a yes, and I have to tell myself that. And I will be the first to say that having all of those no's and trying to sell to people was really new to me, and I would come out of viewings and cry.
I think
like Zac yelled at me one time because he's like, why are you, like in a nice way, and he's like, why are you crying? Like, this is great, like we're making progress, and I'm just crying my eyes out because I didn't like it. The
tough sales love. But that's a funny story. I think you should harp on that, because we went into that viewing, and this just like shows how important it is to know what you're talking about. We went in there, and I think we watched a YouTube video like, we're saying rent to rent, we need to say management. Terrible idea. Do not do that, guys. And we went in there, and the person said, so what, like, is it you moving in? And he's like, no, we're going to manage this property. And this person said, what? And thought we were a letting agent. And they actually tried to report us to Open Rent. So do not go in there with that.
It was misleading.
It was misleading.
So I think a few things we learned very quickly was you need to start understanding people's like pain points first, and actually explain it to them quite gently, and not as you're taking your shoes off as you walk into their house. I mean, guys, I was taking my shoes off and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was very quickly putting my shoes back on. It was uncomfortable, but it was really good learning. And I think it comes down to like, that is how you're going to probably, most likely, unless you're like working with a deal sourcer, you're going to have to go and do those viewings. You've got to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. But, you know, eventually we found a little 2-bed coach house in Barry, and
after how many viewings? 8 viewings, 8 or 9 failed viewings.
Yeah, plus a lot more messages and phone calls, and tell us about
the Barry one. This was an interesting one, because I didn't think anything of this property, but it was we messaged the landlord. He had so many inquiries, and we went there, and he luckily was a letting agent, or former letting agent, and he was like, I understand rent to rent. It was a little bit sus, but he gave us a shot, and it took about 3 weeks to actually secure this back and forth, and finally we got it, which was super exciting. Catch was, it wasn't very serviced accommodation ready. It was a bit run down. We're talking magnolia walls, we're talking
dirty, needed a lot of work. But talk about how we like convince things. I think getting the first deal, when you've not got anything to back yourself, that's daunting, right? When someone says, well, what, like, why, how can I trust you, you know? Yeah,
so this one, we went in, the way we kind of presented it was, we're trying to put, there's an influx of workers in the area, and we need more properties to host these guests, and this is how we're going to do it. So obviously we're going to need guaranteed rent, we take care of the maintenance, etc. Everyone knows the kind of standard kind of conversation. So guaranteed rent, take care of the maintenance. It's going to be showroom condition, and no voids, and we're going to take it on for a long period of time, so hassle-free. So he was clued up, but he actually had some rent-to-rent issues. But what he liked about us was that we came in dressed well, we were ambitious, we talked about our goals.
We had a business card.
We had a business card. And
that we don't use anymore.
I think it's just the way that we approached him. And he said this after a close, there was just something about us that he could just see. And how we kind of convinced him was that he basically just said that, look, we want to grow. This is not just going to be our own one. We want to take this as a business, and we know you have more. Now, we're a new business, and he asked for 12 months rent up front, and we were reluctant. That was about £11,000, and we did it. And we knew that we were going to have to refurb that place slightly as well, plus furnish it. So I think, we just jumped in, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think that the key thing with that is, I think he knew we were serious. And I think you can be a beginner. You're not going to be lying to anyone saying that you're not a beginner. You want to be honest, but you can be honest and show them that you mean business in the same breath. So we were like Zac said, we were explaining that, we had big goals. It's kind of faking it till you make it, right? But without lying. you just want to show that you are serious, and and I think a big thing is saying, you are my first client, which means I'm going to look after you. Yeah, like you're my most important client. Like, you're the one that's going to kickstart my business. So if I don't look after you, then I'm nowhere. So
I think
make them feel special.
Yeah, it's even asking them like, what do I need to do to you to prove that I'm going to just before they even have that that negative thought process, just call them out on it. Like, look, I know what you're thinking. This is my first property, but I've been working with people for X amount of months. I got my mentor. I paid a lot of money for my courses, and then now I'm ready to take on that property. And that's exactly what Eve said. So we got that deal, and I'll let Eve explain the process, because we're like, yes, we got this first deal, and boy, were we in the deep end at that point.
Which was good. And I think that it's very easy to get nervous and slow down, and
I was definitely nervous.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but you just have to, jump in.
My bank account was nervous.
Yeah,
all that money.
But you just have to kind of go for it. So, just quickly, it was a bit run down. It hadn't been looked after. It had some pretty kind of messy tenants in there, basically, and it hadn't really been given any love in quite some time. We were like, oh yeah, we'll just paint it really quickly, no worries. Yeah, no worries. That
while working full time,
obviously we'd never done that before. But I think it didn't stop us, and I think that's the important thing. We could have maybe now would say, we wouldn't obviously go do that work ourselves. However, at the time, that was not going to stop us taking on our first unit. It was an opportunity and we had to take it. So I think that's key, right? You kind of just make it happen.
We knew that if we made this work, we were set. I mean, and it happened, and we'll get on to that in a second.
Yeah.
So that, we 2.5 weeks?
3 at least.
Yeah, 3 weeks. I'm not even exaggerating here. Every day we would finish work at about 5:36. From 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. to then 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m.
As we realised the workload we were saying later. Yeah.
We would work and refurb that place all night long.
It was night shifts, guys.
It got to the point where the week before the photos, we were doing 4 a.m. We would drive back. It was about a 30-minute drive from our house every night at 4 a.m. There was no one on the roads. And we had to wake up 4 hours later to go to work.
Yeah, not to mention this was in the depths of winter.
This was
freezing. Yeah. And we were not putting the heating on in that house because there was no way we were paying for it. So we were in there in our coats. That's crazy. Painting. We were tired. We ate takeaway every night. But we just kept reminding ourselves of what we were doing it for. And I just kept saying, this is going to be the story that we tell. And here we are telling that story. That's nice.
I know,
it's
like
crazy.
That. Eve, question for you. Was it worth it?
Of course. And I think that it gave us so much pride that we did it ourselves, and that we were taking it seriously. We kind of proved it to ourselves almost. We want to make this happen.
I know.
So
do you know what the silver lining on that property is? That property, Kickstarter journey, is our best property. That rent to rent, easily £800 to £1,000 profit a month consistently, and the rent is so low, which is amazing. It's in an area that the rent is that low, but it provides. And where from there? So that was December 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We got that live.
Yeah.
What happened from there?
Another viewing that we had actually earlier on, first ever viewing. Got back in touch. It wasn't about that property, it was about another one. We went and viewed that one, said yes, took it on, and then he gave us another one. So
straight
we
away.
had
He's like, we got this one.
Yeah, we had 2 literally within a week. And I think the key there is, we went to that viewing and it was a no, but a no isn't always a no. He came back to us, and we now have 2 properties from him, and so that's why those no's shouldn't get you down. They're just one step closer. So we took those on, set those up. So by January we had 3 live rent to rents, and that was the kind of start of our journey. And I think at that point, we were really in the deep end. That's when we started real mentorship, right, and training. Yeah, which is where we learn about management. Yeah, that's where we learn about management. So the tip I would say to everyone starting out is, a lot of these people out there tell you about how to get the deal. Well, I can't stress this enough. That's the easy part. That's the easiest. It is actually the easiest part. When it just takes some time. When you have to get it up and running and live, and then also profiting and making money, it is such a work to that. And I have a whole kind of episode planned on monetizing and making that, consistency over every single month. But
Yeah, like Eve said, we got introduced to a new strategy from our mentor, and it kind of opened our eyes. At first, we were like, eh. And a lot of people are still like that with management, aren't they? You talk to them, and they're like, rent to rent, rent to rent, rent to rent. I want to take all these deals. But you see them like turtling and growing so slowly, and then you realize, I can manage someone else's property and make money and not have to put in a year's rent or furniture or but they'll pay me. Wait, this is the catch. They'll pay me to set the property up, to spend their money
and set it up.
And obviously they win, but they're making money. But now I don't have rent. I don't have bills. I don't have anything over my head. I can take on any property I wanted to.
Yeah, and I think going back to our initial goal of like we want to grow and scale a business, it just suddenly all made sense, right? To do management, because it was like, oh, this is scalable. Like you could say yes to 10 properties in one day. You don't have to have the thousands of pounds to set up these 10 properties. Like you can just keep scaling. Yeah. But obviously you don't scale that fast.
Yeah, don't scale too fast.
But you know, that kind of concept is there, that it's a lot more scalable. So we went down that management route. So that means basically, for anyone that doesn't know, that's working with landlords directly that have like investment properties, or developers that have properties that they might want to diversify their portfolio, just make more profit off of their investments. But also we actually do also manage for rent to rent investors. So we have clients that take on rent to rents and we manage them for them. What did you think when you first heard of management?
I was like,
were you skeptical?
Nah. I think I was a bit skeptical, just for the thought like, oh, I'm going to make less money. That was my thought process. Like, oh, less risk, less reward. But then it quickly like I said just before, it quickly realized that, that it allowed us to just grow quicker.
Yeah.
What would you say to yourself, like, if you were to take yourself back to November Eve, or even October Eve, because we were planning on it, what would be the number one thing that you wish you told yourself back then?
Oh, I know it. Because I would tell myself that every day.
I'm intrigued. I don't think I know this, actually.
Just be patient.
Be patient.
Because, guys, I'm not patient, which is a strength when you kind of push yourself forward, but then it's not when you just need to be consistent and stay focused. And sometimes you get so excited and ahead of yourself. But yeah, probably just to be patient. Yeah,
no, I agree. What would mine be?
I was going to ask.
I think mine would be to try to
get ready
switch
to
off
build some more furniture.
Build more furniture. I think like try to switch off a little bit more, so like more focused work rather than just doing the work. And I think I've learned that so much recently.
That's the hard thing in the early days, isn't it? I mean, it's still early days, but
I actually think they're the good old days. I actually miss like doing the Barry thing.
Says that.
But I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't miss doing the Barry. I miss that feeling. That feeling is so different.
It's really exciting.
You feel like you're conquering the world. Okay, so that's kind of like that's kind of like the summary of like where we started our first couple of months. So 2023, StayRight. It was actually RD Stays before that, but we changed. This is kind of like our year where we just absolutely went full throttle onto management. And it wasn't like we just grew and took on 20, 30 properties within the first couple of months. I think it grew very steadily, didn't it? And I think there's so many tips I would give on like how to grow your business. And this isn't even rent to rent. This is not even just to management scaling, but like how we grew this fast was networking.
Yeah.
I think like we realized this was our superpower. We love learning and we love talking to people.
We just helping people, right?
Helping,
the most exciting thing was when you start realizing when you work with someone on a management basis, like especially a landlord, you compare what they make on a normal rental to management, and you show them those numbers, realistic numbers, obviously. That's really exciting. So we realized that there was going to be this really kind of exciting partnership we could start having with clients where we're kind of winning together instead of them just getting their rent. Sometimes just getting the rent is them winning, but that was really exciting. So the word I use all the time and I will always use is like sustainable, because it's easy to grow quite quickly in some sense of it, but actually to do it and for it to be sustainable and to keep all of those clients happy as you grow, that is like the key for me, for both of us.
Yeah, 100%.
And that comes down to a lot of organisation.
100%. So,
but anyway, back to how we get all those deals, how we scaled networking.
Yeah. So
tell us about like starting out in networking.
So we started out. I mean, basically, the next 4th and 5th and 6th deal came from referrals and at networking events. So 2 of them were actually, one was from a previous rent-to-rent person that we convinced to be management, and the other one was one of our cleaning teams actually referred someone. So what we then quickly did was we went into, there's events called like PIN. They're fantastic to meet people. And then you have other ones
like general business.
Yeah, general business ones. It could be obviously the Facebook groups.
Networking is not just in person.
Yeah, it's not just in person. It's online, and then there's also like sourcing agents, becoming like friendly with them, proving yourself to them that they want to actually refer their investors to you because their deals are going to be working. So that's important. So what I would say about networking, again, this is the biggest mistakes, and there's people like Alex Hormozy that I absolutely love. He always talks about you being the person in the room that actually wants to learn from the other person. Mm-hmm. So you're not the person going in there like, yeah, I'm doing rent-to-rent. Don't until you're asked.
You're not trying to sell.
Yeah, you're not. Until you're asked what you do, don't say what you do. Ask that person. You want to find. And look, if that person's not interesting to you, don't feel like you have to. Literally say, hey, I'm just going to go network with other people. Don't waste your time. But also
you never know.
But you also don't know. That's why you ask questions, yeah. So you ask that person and you truly are interested in this person, like this person's about to give you 10 grand. That's the mindset you have. And you ask. And then that person will then ask you what you do, and then you speak. You don't sell to them. You sell.
It's so natural then, isn't it?
Yeah. You sell without selling that person. You just say, I will do this to you. Talk about your other previous experiences. And if you don't have any, talk about what other people are doing. And basically, at that point, that person, if they're interested in what you do, you'll see that and then get their details.
And then that's so much more organic, and that's 100%. Where the best networking happens, right? Like,
and not just once. Yeah. Twice. You don't pitch on the first date. You don't kiss on the first date. On the second date, you warm up a little bit more, and on the third date, that's when.
Then you kiss.
Yeah, that's when you. Keep it PG. Keep it PG. That's when you kiss. The same thing happens with networking, even selling.
It's all about touch points, right? And building 100%. Relationships. Yeah. I mean, we love going to all of the networking things that we go to. The first couple of times it was a bit kind of nerve-wracking, but you have to get in there and kind of make yourself do it. You don't want to be the person stood there not talking to anyone, so it kind of makes you do it when you're in the room. And I think that like now we go to those events and we know people that we've known for like a year, and they will, even if we don't work with them because it's not necessarily what who would be able to help, for example, they will still vouch for us because they know us as people. Yeah. And there's so much power in that, isn't there?
When the people that they go, oh yeah, these are the SA people.
Yeah, talk to even Zac.
And we're not in there selling because we're genuinely, like, we're learning as well. Like, these guys, they teach us so much about how their business is operating, and we're taking that information. And then obviously they're learning about service accommodation, and that's, we're trading information. That is what networking is, trade and then come together. Yeah. So that's kind of like my 2 cents of networking.
And I would say, like, if you're nervous as well,
embrace that.
Yeah. Just think about it as, you look back on it and go, oh, I was nervous. That's so amazing that, I got out of my comfort zone and I did it, because that feeling won't last. Like, you'll get so comfortable with it so quickly because everyone in that room is in the same position. You're not the only one in there trying to meet new people. That's what everyone's trying to do. Yeah. So, embrace that. I remember the first time, especially at the PIN meetings, you have to stand up. Well, you don't have to, but you stand up. Yeah, you stand up and you do like a 20-second kind of pitch, introduction to kind of what you do. And I was sitting there thinking, he's getting closer and closer to me in the room. He's like,
I still get like that.
He's coming towards me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? And I just thought to myself, like, if you don't do it now, like, are you ever? Because there's always going to be a first time, right?
You hate yourself after that.
Yeah, well, that's a bit mean, but
yeah, you would. Like,
but you're going to have to do it the first time at some point. So just get it out of the way.
Straight away, yeah.
And then you're off,
And you may screw up, but practice. Just get practice.
We used to practice it in the car on the way. We still 100%. Do if we want to say something different.
Look, right? I'm going to be transparent. I still get nervous every time I have to do it. I still get butterflies in my tummy, but I do it, and I'm fine. I don't die. Nothing happens. I keep moving on. I keep breathing. Like, that's the same thing.
We get deals.
Yeah, we still get we get deals. But like, we've gone to that PIN event, and we've got clients from that PIN event, and basically, like most of the time when we speak, we have people come up to us and ask, and that's exactly where you want to get to. So
that's the number one way.
That's the number one thing. I would say Eve, I want to ask you a question. So we get to, this is kind of like going through the time frame. So we're at, I think like March, April, we're at like 8, 9. By the way, yeah, like we're talking about March, April, we're at 9. You know, this is right now in October, the end, and we're at 40. You can see the super accelerated growth that comes in a second. But when we're at 9, where do you reckon we're going to be like right now? Genuinely, because I'm intrigued, because I know you're ambitious. I know you're.
I believe in manifesting and saying things out loud to make them happen. So I said, you know, we're going to have.
We changed it. We were at 30.
Yeah. 50 is what I said.
And we said at 30.
We said 30, and I went, why are we being whims about it? Like, let's just say,
and then,
let's say 50 as we start growing. But I think that growth compounds, and I think that getting your second and your third and your fourth and your fifth, that's still harder than getting your 40th, right? Like, it does keep speeding up, and that's something I didn't really believe back then. When people would say to me, getting deals is going to become easier and easier, not less work, but you know, they will come thicker and faster. It's really hard to believe that. So I was thinking, I still feel like every deal is like such hard work to get, and we still put in that hard work, but that has sped up just purely because you have more testimonials, you have more people to refer over to you, you've got more kind of evidence of what you do, and there are people that will only want to work with someone that has more proof in the pudding, you know? So I think that I almost didn't believe that was true, but as we've gone through the month, you kind of noticed that happen, right?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
Where would you say the point was where like that growth kind of sped up? When was that?
Well, I can look at the numbers and I know exactly when it was. It was like June, like it grew, but we had a lot of deals in the pipeline. So from April to May, that couple months there, we had deals come through, and basically we went from like 15 live. We then had secured a block of studios in Swansea, which is direct to landlord, which was, I think that was in May, and then that went live like end of July. That was 4 or 5 studios. That's now 8, and then we got 6 2-beds in June, and basically we then grew to like 25 like within a month and a half, and that was purely through networking and relationships with deal sources. So the deal sourcer had this is the strategy number 2, I would say, is the deal sourcer had so many, you know, doing fantastic, you know, selling a lot of deals, and the management companies that she was referring to, they were just doing everything wrong. And this is the other thing about how your reputation really, really is powerful. They were all just losing money and not doing well, and the deals were really good. They weren't bad, but they just weren't working. And then they got referred across to us, and we took on all these deals and started making them money, turning it around. You know, these people, some of them were negative like £60,000, and we turned them around. So yeah, we kind of really grew their business at that point there. So that's like number 2, would you say, Eve? Like that was our wake up call. Like, wow.
Yeah, there's it's all about the kind of reputation you start building with the people you work with, and I think we saw that go the wrong way with the relationships she had, and then kind of obviously now it works really great together. But I think there's obviously like what Zac kind of just referred to with how we grew quite quickly, because I think that's what I want to kind of just go back to is there are a couple of kind of deals there that were multiple units, and that is a great way to scale, right? Like you take on a block or something, you know, that's a great way to kind of scale up. So that happened with a couple of the deals, which definitely helped, right, around that time.
Yeah, it did, 100%, and that kind of made us flying. Do you know what I think about? Like, because we're talking about like all these deals coming in at like one time and like our business growing. Well, I got a funny question for you. What was the one issue that you had no idea that you would have to face at this point? I know it. I can say this at the same time. In 3, 2, 1, bins. Yeah, he told you.
Yeah, and I think that has got to be the other part of like what we talk about when we talk about growing fast, because it's so easy. That's
gonna be a whole episode about how we grew our team
operations. But I think it's we were growing fast, we still are, and along with that has come growing a team and actually keeping the quality up. The most important thing is that we've kept the quality going with the kind of service that we're offering to our clients, right?
Well, that's
so
100%.
To answer the question about bins, I didn't realise bins was going to be such a difficult thing, right? Like, you think about people staying in an Airbnb compared to a normal house, they're probably not recycling as much, or there's just creating more rubbish because they're maybe in groups or whatever. So keeping on top of rubbish was just like the sudden issue that we've got on top of, and we have loads of systems for now. But just all these things, when you are scaling quickly, it's very easy to let these little things slide. So that's where you've got to be really on it. So bins is an example where we're like, oh, okay, we need to get back on top of this.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's so funny with the bins. Honestly, there needs to be some sort of like council tax that's like for bins, because it is mad. We obviously haven't done this alone, and I think that's really important for people to understand, because like there's no way that you could run 40 properties by yourself. Like, this is the time to kind of talk a little bit about our journey as a business, because we took on our amazing ops manager / PA at the time at April? That's kind of allowed us to grow this quite substantial. Talk about that. That's probably like one of the hardest things we've had to go through, is hiring a team. Luckily, we had experience in that, but this is something that people struggle with. I'm gonna have to take my hat off to you. This is your kind of domain. You're the ops queen. It's not my strong suit.
I mean, I said I wanted to grow a business, right? So
yeah, right.
So we obviously couldn't do it ourselves. I mean, if we did, it would not be a very good job of everything, because there's so much that goes into it. And I think that we hired our first team member. Honestly, we kind of just hired her and said, right, whatever needs doing, we just need to work together and kind of get it done. There was no kind of set job description as such, other than you're just going to be helping us grow. And that was really important, to bring someone in probably earlier than maybe we realised we needed
100%.
to.
Yeah. We weren't paying ourselves at that point, for sure.
Yeah. So that is definitely some advice I'd give anyone, is that if you are scaling, you can't be greedy in terms of wanting to just like keep it all to yourself. Like, you've got to build a team if you're going to do it right and you're going to grow it sustainably. So bringing her on was awesome, and she's obviously now progressing with us, and that's really exciting. But yeah, she kind of just took on a lot of the day-to-day work. So in terms of building that team, what you want to do is start delegating, right? And prioritize the high-level tasks. How are you pushing the needle forward? How are you growing your business? That's what you should be working on as a business owner, and that's what we try and do. Obviously, you get sucked in, right? Like, we always get sucked into the day-to-day stuff because we want to make sure it's going well and keep kind of growing it. But by delegating, that's how you grow.
100%, yeah. How many team members do we have now?
6.
6.
Yeah.
That's
a couple part-time in there.
Including us.
Not including us.
Not including us. Wow.
Because there's a couple part-time.
See, that surprises me.
Yeah.
Like, how many people? How many people do you reckon we'll have by the end of the year? I think
it's interesting, right? Because I think when you're growing a business, there's like points where you got to take people on, and then you're kind of fine for a while. So I don't know. We kind of have to see how it goes. Maybe one more. What do you think?
I reckon one more. There'll be maybe 2 more. Depends on how many properties we have.
What would you say? So I was talking about delegating, right? What would you say? The most important parts are to delegate. To not delegate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very good at processes, but I'm learning, and I realize how important they are. So the number one thing is like getting your brain into
Guys,
sheets.
I say Zach tells me, I'm like, go write it down.
Yeah, I hate it.
Go write it down.
So the number one thing is like SOPs, so standard operation procedures. Like, this is from the get go. If you are not doing this right now, do it like today. If you're listening to this, start writing down how you onboard properties, how you manage their properties, everything. And just even talking about this, I can't wait to even just explain about all these things in more detail, because this is just an introduction. But the SOPs are the biggest one. And then once you've got that SOP, it's not set and forget. You need to keep going back to that and
Evolving.
checking with the team to make sure that's good. But, for example, this has been a weekend and me and you've not done that much work. We've done things together and, we've helped maybe potentially close some deals. Everything from the guest comms and from even revenue management, some of the time we offset that, which is a blessing.
I think, some of the first things that we sort of delegated was, just the admin, the day-to-day.
Guest comms.
And guest comms is the big one.
Massive.
Which we'll go into more because, again, I think there's so much to all of these things that we didn't realise and that we learned through kind of mentoring and also now experience. But I can't wait to get into all these topics more. Just touching on everything just makes me think, there's so much more to talk about, which is exciting to kind of know what's coming in the next episodes. Yeah, I mean, this, like we said, this podcast was to introduce us and kind of give you a little bit of a background of our journey and get you to have a feel of like us as people. What we want to start doing is like every week release like a topic that we're going to be talking about. So that could be revenue management and how we're achieving 80% occupancy across all our properties. Could be X, could be Y. This is what we're wanting to do. I honestly can't wait. This is going to be amazing. And also we are going to get some guests on here. Yes, we are. Yeah, not every episode, but we will kind of change it up with bringing some kind of experts and people that can really add even more value and stuff like that and more learning to it. Can't wait. Bring on episode 2. Eve, I think what I want to leave you with is a question of if someone right now was listening to this that hasn't started, hasn't got any rent to rents, but is thinking about doing it or is trying to actively doing it right now, what are the 3 quick fire tips that you give them? Don't wait for everything to feel perfect. It never will. Just start. Don't worry about it too much. Maybe that's number 2, is it? Remember that every no is a step closer to a yes. I have to tell myself that every day. And number 3 would be keep reminding yourself of your goals and kind of envisioning that. I'm big on like manifesting and envisioning things because when you feel a bit down, when you're getting no's, just keep that vision in your head of what you want to achieve because that's what will keep you going. Yeah, I agree. My one to that would be, and this is like thinking of me back then. Yeah. And the arrogance is like, you don't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah, for sure. Like we thought that we were going to be able to manage these properties with no knowledge. Like we don't sell a course. I'm telling you this right now. Go buy something. If you want a recommendation on what we got, just drop us a message. And we can definitely... it's what's grown up, helped us grow our business. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's leave anyone that's listening to where they can find us. So where can they find you, Eve? Instagram. Yeah. And TikTok. I'm getting into these things, like starting to really kind of so that's exciting. I think yours is Eve. We will leave them wherever you leave them. We'll leave them wherever we leave them. Mine's Zac _Ratcliffe. So on Instagram, same on TikTok. And then we are also going to start filming these, right? Facebook as well. Obviously, you just message us. But we're going to film these. This is audible. This is 1.0, and we're going to go up to 100 and beyond. But any final words? Thanks for listening, guys. And always reach out, any questions if you're getting started or anything. 100%. And see you on the next podcast.